I'll be honest with you. Malaysia wasn't the plan. It was the layover. It was that we have a few extra days. Let's just see a destination. It was a country I had filed away in my head under fine. Perfectly fine. Nothing special. I had walked past Malaysia 100 times in my imagination, chasing sunsets in Bali, counting temples in Bangkok, getting lost in the alleyways of Hanoi. Malaysia? That was just KL, the Twin Towers, a quick photo, and then back to the airport. That was my assumption. And I want to tell you, right now, before we go any further, I have never been more wrong about a place in my life, because the moment I actually stopped in Malaysia, really stopped, looked around, sat down, ate, walked, breathed, something happened that I genuinely did not expect. Malaysia didn't just surprise me. It got under my skin, and I have been trying to explain why ever since. So that's what this video is. My honest attempt to answer one question. What does Malaysia actually feel like when you finally give it a real chance? The answer isn't one thing. It's not a landmark. It's not a dish. It's not even a single moment. It's a feeling that builds, quietly, then all at once. And by the time you notice it, you're already Googling flights back. In 2024 alone, 25,016,698 people discover what I'm talking about. A 24.2% jump in a single year. The world is catching on. This is not a coincidence. This is a shift. Welcome or welcome back. This channel exists to tell the truth about travel, not the filtered version, not the highlight reel, the real story with real data, real places, and real feelings. If that's the kind of content you actually want on your feed, subscribe and hit the bell notification. Comment I subscribe below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. Because the people in this community, they don't just go places, they understand them. All right, let's talk about Malaysia. Here's the thing about Malaysia that nobody really talks about. It has spent decades living in the shadow of louder neighbors. Thailand, with its beaches and its brand. Bali, with its Instagram-perfect rice terraces. Singapore, with its skyline and its relentless ambition. And Malaysia just existed alongside all of them. Quietly, confidently, unbothered, which meant most travelers, myself included, made assumptions. We assumed it was fine. We assumed it was just a blurry version of somewhere else we'd already been. We assumed the food would be decent, the city would be modern, and that after 2 days we'd seen what there was to see. I want to walk you through exactly how that assumption died. It started at the airport. I landed at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, and within 28 minutes, I was in the heart of the city, not in a taxi stuck in traffic, not on a bus with no air conditioning. On the KLIA Express, a high-speed express train, clean, on schedule, pulling directly into KL Central Station. That was the first sign that something was different here. Then I looked up, the Petronas Twin Towers. I had seen them in photographs so many times they had lost all their power. But standing underneath them, actually underneath them, at 452 meters tall, still holding the title of the world's tallest twin towers, designed with Islamic geometric patterns pressed into the steel and glass. It was the first time I genuinely felt the scale of what Malaysia had built. Not just a building, a statement. We are here. We have always been here. And we are not asking for your permission. That feeling, that quiet, unshakable confidence, I would feel again and again in Malaysia, in the food, in the forests, in the people. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because before the wonder really hit, there was the food. And the food changed everything. Nobody prepared me for Malaysian food. And I mean that literally. People mentioned it. People said, oh, the food is great. But nobody sat me down and said, listen, you are about to eat some of the greatest food on the planet. Not great for Southeast Asia. Not great for a developing country. Great, full stop, competing against the entire world and winning. Because that is exactly what it is. Lonely Planet, one of the most respected travel authorities on Earth, named Penang the world's #1 culinary destination. Not top 10, not top 5, #1. CNN plays Penang's Assam laksa, a sour, tamarind-based fish broth with thick noodles, torched ginger flour, and shredded mackerel, at #7 on the world's 50 best foods list. And rendang, that dark, slow-cooked, deeply spiced coconut meat dish that takes a cook up to 6 hours to perfect, won CNN's Global Readers poll for the world's most delicious food. Not Asia's most delicious food, the world's. But here's what the awards don't capture. The moment. It's 11 p.m. You're at a hawker stall somewhere in Penang. The heat is a living thing, wrapping around you, pressing close. A fan overhead doing its best and failing beautifully. Plastic chairs, fluorescent light, a handwritten menu in 3 languages. You order nasi lemak, coconut rice, crispy fried anchovies, roasted peanuts, a rich dark sambal, and a soft-boiled egg wrapped in banana leaf, still steaming when it arrives. You take one bite, and then you sit very still for a second, because something just happened in your mouth that you didn't have the vocabulary for before that moment. The coconut in the rice, the salt of the anchovies, the slow, building heat of the sambal. It all lands together, perfectly balanced, like someone spent a very long time thinking about exactly this combination. They did. 4 generations. That's Malaysian food. And the price? The full meal under RM10. That is $2.20. 3 civilizations, Malay, Chinese, Indian, each bringing centuries of culinary tradition to the same street, the same hawker center, the same table. You don't just eat in Malaysia, you eat history. So let me break this down specifically, because I didn't expect it is not enough. You deserve to know exactly what it is that makes Malaysia feel the way it does. #1, it holds you like a city that knows who it is. Kuala Lumpur does not perform for tourists. That's the first thing you notice, and it is the most refreshing thing in the world. KL is a city living its own life, loudly, colorfully, without apology. Minarets beside skyscrapers. A mosque right next to a Hindu temple right next to a Chinese clan house. All within walking distance. All real, all active, all full of people. By day you're in KLCC Park. Lush, open, free. Looking up at twin towers that still hold the world record at 452 meters. By night you're at Jalan Alor, a street that transforms after dark into a corridor of fire, smoke, and sizzle. 100 different dishes, 100 different stories, all happening simultaneously under one strip of city sky. KL doesn't try to be Singapore. It doesn't try to be Bangkok. It is entirely, stubbornly, magnificently itself. And that, in a world of cities trying to be somewhere else, feels like a relief. #2, the safety is real, and it is measured. I want to handle this one carefully, because it matters. Before I went to Malaysia, I genuinely didn't know where it stood on safety. I had vague, unexamined assumptions, which, as we've established, I was bad at. Here is the reality, from a source with no reason to flatter anyone. The Global Peace Index, published by the Institute for Economics and Peace, assesses 163 countries across 23 measurable indicators: safety, security, ongoing conflict, societal stability. In 2024, Malaysia ranked 10th in the world, up from 19 the year before, an 8.6% improvement in its score. By 2025, it held the 13th position globally. Malaysia is consistently ranked among the top 4 safest countries in all of Asia, alongside Singapore, Japan, and Bhutan. I walked alone at night in KL, in Penang, in Georgetown's backstreets. I took public transport at midnight. I ate at open-air stalls before sunrise. I never once felt unsafe. Not performative safety, the kind where you're hyper-aware and managing risk. Just the normal feeling of being somewhere that is simply not dangerous. The data and the lived experience said exactly the same thing. In travel, that alignment is rarer than it should be. #3, The nature will make you feel small in the best way. 3 hours from Kuala Lumpur, 3 hours from the Twin Towers and the rooftop bars and the world-class malls, there's a rainforest. And this rainforest is 130 million years old. The Amazon, which most people think of as ancient, primordial, untouchable, is approximately 55 million years old. Taman Negara predates it by 75 million years. It survived the Ice Age. It survived the mass extinction events that rewrote the planet. Dinosaurs walked the earth and this forest was already ancient. Spanning 4,343 square kilometers across 3 Malaysian states, it holds 14,000 species of plants, 200 species of mammals, 350 species of birds, 67 species of snakes, and somewhere deep in its canopy, the Malayan tiger. You stand inside Taman Negara and you understand, maybe for the first time, what it actually feels like to stand inside deep time, not in a frightening way, in the way that reminds you the world is so much older, wilder, and more magnificent than anything human hands have built inside it. And 3 hours from a city with a world record skyscraper, you can stand inside it. That contrast alone is worth the price of the flight. Number 4, one country, 3 completely different worlds. Most destinations give you one thing done well. Malaysia gives you 3 things, done brilliantly, that have no business existing in the same country. Kuala Lumpur, futuristic, cosmopolitan, sky-high ambition made concrete and glass. A city with Michelin-recommended restaurants, underground art galleries, and a metro system that would embarrass most European capitals. Penang, UNESCO World Heritage. Colonial shop houses painted in warm ochre and weathered teal. Street murals turning back alleyways into open-air galleries. A food culture so deep, so specific, so obsessively local that people fly in from Japan, from Australia, from the UK, just to eat here. Borneo, Sabah, and Sarawak. This one almost doesn't feel real. Orangutans in the actual wild. Not a zoo, not a controlled sanctuary. The wild, moving through trees your great-great-grandparents never touched. Proboscis monkeys. Picture plants the size of your head. Indigenous Iban longhouses where culture hasn't been preserved behind glass. It still lived. And Mount Kinabalu at 4,095 meters, Southeast Asia's highest peak, rising out of the jungle like a declaration. More city, more jungle, more coast, more culture, more nature, more food, one country, one flight. Number 5, the price point is almost embarrassing. I don't say this to be hyperbolic. A full hawker meal, hot, fresh, made right in front of you, RM10. That is $2.20. A comfortable single-person life in Kuala Lumpur. Rent, food, transport, Wi-Fi, entertainment. RM2000 to RM3500 a month. That is $460 to $810. A mid-range dinner for 2, with drinks at a proper restaurant, around RM100. That's $23. International living, one of the world's most established expat resources, ranked Malaysia the 7th best retirement destination on the planet in 2025. Cited specifically for affordability, healthcare quality, and multicultural quality of life. There are cities in Europe, and you know which ones, where a single coffee costs what a full Malaysian meal does. Malaysia gives you Singaporean-level infrastructure at Thai-level prices. Let that sit in for a second. Number 6, the people make it feel like home before you've even unpacked. This one is the hardest to quantify, but it might be the most true. Malaysia is a country of 3 major civilizations, Malay, Chinese, Indian, that have spent generations not just tolerating each other but genuinely blending, borrowing each other's festivals, each other's recipes, each other's words, sometimes all 3 in the same sentence. The result is a cultural fluency that you feel immediately, a warmth that doesn't feel trained or performed. It feels earned, real, deep. In a survey of expats living in Malaysia, 92% said they found it easy to live there without speaking the local language. 77% said they found it easy to make new friends. That's not a tourism slogan written by a marketing department. That's real people who moved there, lived there, stayed there, reporting back. And when you feel it in person, you feel it in the first hour. Quick pause before we keep going. If this is landing for you, if you're seriously considering Malaysia, whether as a trip, a long stay, or something more permanent, there's one resource I genuinely point you toward. It's called Living in Malaysia by International Living. It's not a glossy brochure. It's a working guide, cost of living by city, visa options, healthcare access, neighborhood breakdowns, the kind of research that saves you weeks of going in circles online. Link is in the description. All right, back to it. Let's return to the cold numbers, because they tell a story that feeling alone can't carry. In 2024, Malaysia welcomed 25,016,698 international tourists. That figure didn't come from a press release. It came from a formal parliamentary reply. On the record, that is a 24.2% increase in a single year. By April 2025, another 8,356,921 had already come through, sitting 10.5% above Malaysia's own pre-pandemic 2019 baseline. The recovery isn't just complete, it's exceeded. The countries sending those people: Singapore, 9.1 million, Indonesia, 3.65 million, China, 3.29 million, India, up 36.6% year-on-year in just the first 4 months of 2025 alone. Now here's the part that no headline captures. A growing share of those arrivals aren't searching for a holiday, they are searching for a life. Malaysia's long-stay visa program, the Malaysia My Second Home scheme, has been quietly pulling in retirees, digital nomads, and young families from the UK, South Korea, Japan, Bangladesh, and beyond. These are not people passing through for a long weekend. These are people who came once, felt what I've been describing, and then went home, did the maths, and came back permanently. And the maths keeps winning. I want to zoom out, because the more time I spend thinking about Malaysia, the more I believe the real surprise wasn't about the country at all. It was about me. It was about the assumptions I carried in, built on other people's highlight reels, on rankings that reward the loudest destinations, on a lazy habit of looking at the obvious choices and never once stopping to ask what was standing right beside them. Malaysia was always there. It was always this layered, this complex, this alive, a rainforest older than the Amazon, a food culture that beats the entire world in blind taste tests, cities that build world record towers and put metro stations underneath them so that everyone, not just the people who can afford taxis, can get there. A country where three of Asia's great civilizations didn't just coexist. They cooked together, built together, prayed side by side. Malaysia didn't change. My attention did. And I think that's what this is really about, not just Malaysia, but the way we travel. The way we let noise decide where we go. The way we confuse famous with worthy. The way we walk past extraordinary things because nobody famous enough has pointed at them yet. Malaysia built itself for Malaysians. It nourished itself, celebrated itself, protected its forests and its languages and its streets. And then one day, gradually, then all at once, the world looked over and realized what had been sitting there the whole time. This is not a consolation prize. This is not second choice. This is a first choice for people who are actually paying attention. And if you're Malaysian, watching this from KL or Penang or Kota Kinabalu or somewhere in Sabah where the signal barely reaches but you found this anyway, I want to speak directly to you for a moment. You already knew all of this. You knew that the charcoal tio your uncle has been making for 30 years is better than anything with a Michelin star and a waiting list. You knew that the mamak stall at 2 a.m. isn't just food. It is the social fabric of an entire country, stitched together one tarik at a time. You knew that la at the end of a sentence carries a warmth that most languages need 5 words to even attempt. You knew that Taman Negara was ancient before anyone called it a tourist attraction. You knew that Penang streets hold more history per square meter than most countries hold in their entire capital cities. You knew your country was extraordinary. You just got used to the world not seeing it. Well, it sees it now. And this is your moment, not to gloat, not to perform, just to stand in the quiet, well-earned satisfaction of being right all along. Malaysia didn't chase the world attention. It didn't rebrand. It didn't shout. It just kept being Malaysia. And eventually, the world ran out of excuses to ignore it. If this video made you see Malaysia differently, share it. Send it to the friend who has been planning the same trip for 3 years. Send it to the one who thinks Southeast Asia starts and ends somewhere else. Send it to anyone who has never stopped long enough to actually look. They deserve to know. And if you're new here, subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss what's coming next. Comment "I subscribe" below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. We are just getting started. More places, more honest stories, more truth. I'll see you in the next one.